I think stewardship involves people. That is your most valuable resource. That is the people who are on the front lines, middle lines, back lines, whether you're an organization that has CEO, direct reports, supervisors, managers, all that. When you invest in your people, all of a sudden you've got people all rowing in the same direction. You have got a dynamic, healthy organization.
Welcome to the Superhero Sidekick Leadership Coaching Podcast with Joel Smith and Joe Baker. We're here to help you develop your superpowers.
This is the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. I'm Joel Smith.
I'm Joe Baker. We're not here to be the superhero. We just want to be your sidekick and help you along in building your business, building your not-for-profit. Let's help you grow it fast and really scale.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook and visit us at superherosidekick.com.
Welcome to the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. Joe, how you doing today?
Looking forward to another great show.
So we've got on the program Dr. Greg Gilbaugh. Greg has been an entrepreneur and currently oversees a couple of different dental practices. And Greg is also the founder of the Kalos Business Group. It helps business owners and entrepreneurs connect their faith to their business.
So today we are talking about stewardship. So Greg, I would like for you to give us an example of what it looks like for a business owner to have great biblical stewardship.
When a business owner or an entrepreneur says, you know what, my job is to take the people and then all the opportunities that come, good or bad, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to reject, this is where I'm going, makes decision making so much, and all the resources. And I'm going to invest my heart, soul, mind, and strength in making these people better. Patrick Lencioni, which is, a guru in, the business world as a speaker, author, consultant, he's quoted in his book, The Advantage, by saying, look, if you can get all your people in your business all just rowing in the same direction, he goes, it doesn't matter what your business is, what your market is, where you're at, or at what time you're at, you're going to dominate it. And you just go, yeah. So it's like, all right, well, maybe you're not going to dominate, but if you get all your people starting to row in the same direction, you're at least going to get a lot better.
Well, you're going to be on a trajectory that can only go up.
That's right. And the thing is that, it's not just, I think stewardship involves people. That is your most valuable resource. That is the people who are on the front lines, middle lines, back lines, whether you're a small dental clinic with 5 people, whether you're an organization that has, a CEO, direct reports, supervisors, managers, all that. When you invest in your people, all of a sudden you've got people all rowing in the same direction. You have got a dynamic, healthy organization, not just smart. You've got one that's healthy. Healthy growth continues. It's sustainable. It's progressing, and it's fruitful. And that's the thing. And that's what stewardship does. It says, I am going to give my best efforts to make people, opportunities, and resources. I want to make them better. That makes it a place where people want to work. They want to engage. They want to get better. Those that don't get pruned, but it grows.
As I think about this, I'm thinking about, the business model of the church is really a model of getting people to give. And so when they, it's very normal for that to be the main subject when it comes to stewardship, was they always want to talk about giving. And I think about, some of my favorite people and my close friends are the owners of Hobby Lobby. And I think, they're able to give this, billions of dollars a year. It's just amazing how they're giving their money away. But what's even, in a way, even more amazing is the 40-some thousand people that they've employed, the people that have a family because they're supporting them, and they've created this thing that wouldn't be there there would be no job without them. And it's easy for, in the church to be so interested in talking about giving, but they really have kind of lost that concept of what about like creating all those jobs. And if you ever go on the Hobby Lobby tour, they have one section. It just was amazing to me. It was a whole room of people who had Down syndrome, and there was certain jobs that these people with Down syndrome were really good at, and they were organizing things and putting things in packages, and it's like they all like loved each other. It was just like one of the most loving environments I've ever seen. But it's like all of those are things that no one knows about them because everyone's so interested in their giving. But really, I mean, there's so many things about the way Hobby Lobby takes care of their people. I mean, they have their own healthcare system. They've done so many things for those people. It was over $15 minimum wage like 10 years ago at Hobby Lobby. You know, they just care for their people. And so I think about, it's like all of that should be something that people learn about in the church and not just about the giving. And what will happen is when you build a strong, great business, great things come of that. Giving comes of that too, you know. But in a lot of ways, I feel like those are even more important than the giving. And we've lost that a little bit in the church.
That culture and that mission that you're creating along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, across the United States, statistics will say that in the congregations, 2 to 3% of the people that are in the congregations will go on into vocational ministry. That's good. That's good. And that's beneficial. What about the other 98% of the people? They need to be encouraged and built up, trained, and impassioned about what takes up the majority of their day and how God says that this is incredibly significant. My parents, when they retired, moved down to Florida, moved into a very large retirement community. I would go down there to visit them. And I was amazed at the church that they went to. I won't say its name, but I would get introduced to a lot of my parents' friends. It's like, well, here's so-and-so. He was like a CEO at Chrysler. Here's a guy who was, he was in charge of, this restaurant franchise east of the Mississippi. And it's just like, I mean, these were guys that loved Jesus and they were highly skilled. And now they're in this church, and now they're relegated to handing out bulletins, or maybe, doing a men's Bible study. And I'm thinking, if I was the senior pastor here, I told my dad, I said, Dad, have you ever been to the zoo and watched the lions that are in a cage? All they do is sleep, lay around. They'll roar every once in a while when it's feeding time, but it's like, but that's not what a lion was made for. I said, you got a lot of guys here, in my opinion, this is not what they were made for. They were not made. God bless those who hand out bulletins. God bless those who lead men's Bible studies, because I've done it for years. But it's like, you are sitting on a gold mine here, and all this church is doing is taking large gold nuggets and using it for pounding in nails.
Wow.
You are sitting on a gold mine, and these guys are like, they're not being utilized in this season of their life. They have so much wisdom, skill, spiritual maturity. They've got more time and resources than they've ever had in their whole life. This last season of their life, maybe potentially should be the most fruitful time of their life, and they're not.
You just defined so much of what I've struggled with about the church that I haven't been able to articulate. Because it's like, I look at that on both sides. One, like a lot of the things I'm invited to within the church, just I feel like I have a lot more firepower than that. Like, it's just like, I'm much more efficient working over here and doing something, mentoring and coaching and consulting people than standing around handing out like the bulletins, like you said. But then at the same time, there's a lot of men in the church that could really be empowering me and making me a greater, stronger, witness in my business. And I'm not really receiving that. It's a really good point.
When I was a young man in business, the smaller church that I went to as a young Christian, there were 2 men that I set as mentors. One was the teaching pastor who could take, half a verse and talk about it for an hour. And I just like, oh my gosh. And he loved his 4 girls. It's like, yeah, I want to be like him. But the other one was a personnel manager at a large business here in town, and to listen to him and how he interacted and to watch that vibrant faith, in the marketplace. It's like, I want to be like him. And so I was so glad to have that kind of an example where I could, sit and watch and listen and visit with this guy. A lot of, you're right, Joe, there's a lot of untapped potential,
I've also had a pastor once say to me, he said, Joe, he says, I'm glad there's people like you because you're wired to make money. And that's something that the church needs to to be able to do all the things the church does. And to be honest, like that at first, that was meant as like a compliment, but I really didn't like it because, it felt to me like, well, there's a lot more to my gifts and talents than making money. Like I want to build rocket ships that go to the moon. I want to do big, hard, difficult things. And really, I want this whole church to be a church of that. Like everybody's got a role to play in growing things and doing their best. And it's like his assumption was it's like he's either teaching, reading Bible verses or making money. And it's like, I don't think that's fair.
Right. And I also want to say, I don't want to come across that, gosh, Greg, you just bashed the church. And it's like I said, been on a pastoral team for almost 20 years. I get it. I would also say that, to defend, it's like, look, if Microsoft had to, if 80% of their workforce was truly volunteer based, Bill Gates would not be living in the size houses that he is right now. He'd still be in an office at somewhere. There are some realities that the church has to face. And, it's like, hey, all of our, 80% of the people that do the work here, they're pretty much on a volunteer basis. And so there's a skill where we want to reach into your hearts and pull your, what are your passions? And so you love this, we need to plug in. But work and church are still institutions and works in progress because people are still there in both of them. And that's one of the problems.
It's like really church should be about that mentorship piece. It should be about men mentoring men, right? I mean, isn't that that was the model of these men that went on a camping trip with Jesus for a few years? I mean, that seems like that was the actual model. And yet now it's just, you're right. Someone's just standing there handing you a bulletin, and shaking your hand. And opening a door. And
that goes back, I think, Joe, to many of us as believers just have a little bit of a wrong view of the value of work. We see it as the thorns and thistles, and as a result, it's something to be tolerated, endured. That's work, and work is many times, unfortunately, viewed as even in sermons. Work is viewed as that thing that takes away from the real important things like church and your marriage. Well, it can, if it's not, if the guy wants to be a workaholic and doesn't care about his marriage, that's not a work problem. That's a him problem, and you can use the church as the example. It's like, well, my husband is at church all the time. He leads 3 Bible studies. He's on the deacon board, and he's always going out helping other people with their problems, but he's never at home. And it's because he's got issues at home, but he's not taking care of it. That's not a church problem. That's a him problem. But we gloss it over. So, wow, I just went down a rabbit trail real quick. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
But you're right. A proper view of work needs to be embraced by the church, because I believe the marketplace, this is where not everyone's going to get married. Not everyone's going to have children. Sometimes you'll have 9 kids and eventually they're going to move out. And, but the thing is that we are all engaged in the marketplace, whether we create the job, go to the job, Or it's like, well, look, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I don't have a job, but you go into the marketplace to purchase, buy, engage, and there where people and money meet, that's where you show off your heart.
Yeah. This is great stuff.
Follow
Yeah.
the believer to the customer return at Walmart or Target and listen to the conversations. Is that a redeemed conversation or is that not?
Right.
Just something fun to do.
That's terrific. Well, hey, Greg, thank you very much. This has been so good. What do you think, Joe? Is that good stuff for all of us?
I think this is one of the best podcasts we've done yet. I've actually learned so much. It's the first time I've actually taken a bunch of notes. Man, there's been some one-liners in here that I need to rewind and listen to again.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, this is why I asked Greg to be my mentor too. So I get to talk to him about every 2 weeks. So
and we didn't talk at all about his teeth. They're our teeth.
That's true. That's probably a blessing there. So, hey, Greg, I got another question for you here. So,
yes,
Greg, tell us your superpower that helps you to make the biggest difference.
I was going to say, I asked my wife about that. I said, what would you say my superpower is? Because sometimes on our own we maybe can't see it, but I think she nailed it. And so I'm going to say. Being able to fly, because I get up at 30,000 feet and I'm able, I like to see a lot of different perspectives when I think about an issue. My wife jokes, she goes, Greg, somebody asks you, how are you doing? And it takes you 2 minutes to reply because you have to really think about it. And so, yeah, it's looking at, I like to think. It's one of my favorite pastimes, and to think about different perspectives in solving a problem or an issue, or how to grow and how to steward. And so that would be it. Big picture, see all the different perspectives, and then be able to come down and execute.
Well, I think, Greg, that's what really makes you great at what you do with coaching too, is because not everybody can think like that. And so when you can come alongside people and help them think through things, help them see a perspective, maybe a zoomed out version and a bigger picture, I think that's one of the best attributes you can have as a coach as well. So we appreciate you being on the program. And Greg, do you have anything else to say? Any last tips or tricks for anybody?
Yeah, I think if Joe were to invite me to go like mountain climbing, I would be able to go up, and I would say, you know what, I'm thinking of all the different ways that I can hurt myself and come back down and say, you know what, brother, I thank you for the option, but I think I'm going to stay down here, drink coffee and watch Sam's Adventure at samsadventure.com. Leave it to the 8-year-olds.
Hey, Greg, how can people get a hold of you if they want to hire you as a coach or have you come speak at a convention?
Yeah, go to drgreggilbaugh.com. That's my speaking website, or the Kalos Business Group.com. That's where we're going into developing the coaching and those sorts of things. But feel free, drgreggilbaugh.com. That's my website for kicking things off and having me come and throw out some one-liners that hopefully you'll write down and some golden nuggets.
Excellent. All right. Thanks. And we would love to have you go to superherosidekick.com and visit us on our Facebook page at Superhero Sidekick and give us some reviews. Give us some comments. Tell us what you think about Greg. We'll pass it on to him. Anyway, Joe, what do you think? Good episode.
This is going to be one of the best shows, and subscribe to our podcast. That takes it to the next level and allows you to really follow all that we're doing.
That's right. All right. Hey, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.